Welcome to this explainer. We usually think of history and entertainment as two completely separate worlds, right? Like one happens out there in the real world, and the other just offers us a fun little escape from it. But what happens when a global conflict is so massive, so all-encompassing, that it fundamentally alters both the physical technology in your living room and the actual storytelling on your screens? Well, today we're going to dive into the massive ripple effect of World War II and see exactly how it completely reshaped American entertainment from the inside out.
Think about an 8-year gap. That number represents a complete, screeching halt in the rollout of the television revolution. Imagine a world-changing technology, something poised to sit in literally every living room in America, just stopping completely in its tracks for almost a decade. Well, that is exactly what happened to television when the world went to war.
So picture the late 1930s. TV is just starting to emerge as a viable, highly anticipated consumer product. People were getting really excited for the television age. But then, 1941 hits. The United States government steps in and entirely restricts the commercial manufacturing of consumer electronics. This mandate freezes television's progress cold, pushing the true commercial launch of the medium all the way back to 1947.
And the immediate physical impact of that restriction was absolutely massive. Giant factories for companies like RCA and Philco, which were originally built to mass-produce consumer TVs, had to pivot basically overnight. Instead of building entertainment devices, they suddenly started churning out critical military tech, things like radar systems, two-way radios, and electronic targeting equipment. The machinery meant to broadcast sitcoms was literally retooled to win a global war.
Section 1. Hollywood stars go to war, from leading men to frontline heroes.
What's absolutely crucial to understand here is the undeniable, real-world bravery we're talking about. These were definitely not PR stunts. Look at Jimmy Stewart, for example. Already a massive, bankable Hollywood star, he enlists in the Army Air Corps, flies highly dangerous combat missions over Europe, and actually rises to the rank of brigadier general. Or take Clark Gable. After the tragic death of his wife, Carol Lombard, in a plane crash during a war bond tour, Gable enlists in the Army Air Forces. He's out there flying operational missions in B-17 bombers right over Europe to capture combat footage. Then there's Audie Murphy, who kind of worked in reverse. He became the most decorated American combat soldier of the war first, and only after returning home did that incredible heroism translate into a long career as a Hollywood leading man.
Which brings us to a really powerful thought from Henry Fonda. His decision to serve perfectly captures the sentiment of so many of these stars. He famously said, "I did not want to be a fake in a war studio." He outright rejected the safety of Hollywood for active duty, serving as an operations and air combat intelligence officer in the Central Pacific, and ultimately earning a Bronze Star. They just couldn't play heroes on a soundstage while their peers were actually fighting on the beaches and in the skies.
Section 2. The cinematic shift, the psychological impact on storytelling.
You see, during the actual conflict, Hollywood functioned almost like an extension of the war effort. Audiences desperately needed cheerful musicals and lightweight comedies for pure escapism, just a brief moment to forget the global horror. They also consumed morale-boosting propaganda, like Frank Capra's Why We Fight series. But once the war ended, the cinematic landscape shifted completely. Returning soldiers brought home deep trauma and a profound loss of innocence. Suddenly, audiences didn't just want cheerful songs anymore. They demanded nuanced realism, complexity, and even cynicism reflected on their screens. And this exact post-war mood gave birth to a totally new, massively influential aesthetic: film noir. We're talking incredibly dark, shadow-drenched cinematography, morally ambiguous characters where you really can't easily tell the good guys from the bad guys, and very fatalistic plots. It was a direct cinematic translation of a post-war society grappling with the darker realities of human nature that they had all just witnessed. But this shift was way more than just stylistic. It tackled heavy, real-world themes right head-on. Take the incredibly acclaimed movie The Best Years of Our Lives. It served as a critical mirror for a radically changed society. It didn't shy away from the truth at all. It directly addressed the incredibly tough psychological and physical realities that veterans were facing as they tried to reintegrate into a civilian life that just didn't feel familiar to them anymore.
Section 3. WWII on the small screen, the 1960s television wave.
So, as TVs finally flooded into American living rooms, a distinct wave of programming started to captivate massive 1960s audiences. Shows like Combat were an hour long, incredibly gritty, and surprisingly realistic. What's amazing about Combat is that it featured huge production values, seamlessly blending actual, real-life war footage with live-action scenes of squads fighting their way across post-D-Day Europe.
We also saw The Gallant Men tackling the Italian campaign, 12 O'Clock High highlighting the harrowing daylight missions of bomber pilots, and the action-heavy Rat Patrol set in the deserts of North Africa. Television was finally processing the grit of the global conflict on a weekly basis.
But then, TV does something totally unexpected with the cultural memory of all this. In the very same era, it took the setting of the deadliest war in human history and, well, turned it into a laughing matter. A really sharp pivot to sanitized military comedies.
It just goes to show how time and distance can completely alter our relationship with trauma. Hit shows emerged that totally sanitized the war. We went from the intense grit of combat to stuff like McHale's Navy, which was basically a lighthearted show about a misfit PT boat crew in the Pacific. And then there's the truly bizarre absurdity of Hogan's Heroes. Think about this concept for a second. A highly successful sitcom set literally inside a German prisoner of war camp, focused entirely on Allied espionage happening right under the noses of bumbling, incompetent guards. The very real horrors of POW camps were completely transformed into a backdrop for slapstick comedy.
It's genuinely an incredible journey, isn't it? From halted factory lines to frontline heroes, all the way to gritty realism and, eventually, sitcom hijinks. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final thought. Think about the prestige dramas, the action movies, and the comedies you're streaming right now. Look closely at them and ask yourself, how does real-world trauma inevitably reshape the fictional escapism we consume on screen? What hidden historical forces and modern-day events are quietly reshaping the future of your entertainment today? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive.